Amud Beis. We learned the whole sugya about a woman who gives birth. She's tummy for 7 days. Let's say if she had a boy, then she is tahar for 33 days. During those 33 days, we discussed this. She's considered a tfulas yom. She's nishtahi nishtaher. She's semi-tahar to her husband, but not tahar for truma, for kachim, that sort of thing. So, Vakatimi boile, says the Gemara, I don't understand how Rish Lakish could learn his drushes from this pasuk. He already uses up the pasuk. Vakatimi boile l'tomei shachal b'sar kodesh lifnei zrika. He's talking about after zrika. He's talking about different things. We need this pasuk for a tamei who ate kodesh before the zrika. Before zrika. The what? The itmar. Tamei shachal b'sar kodesh lifnei zrika. Rish Lakish amar loika. V'Reb Yochanan amar eina loika. Rish Lakish holds from this pasuk b'chol kodesh l'siga. You see that you receive malchus even though the zrika didn't take place yet. Why? He learns from that pasuk. So he already uses up the pasuk. Doesn't matter. Even before zrika you get malchus. Barda learns. We had this the day before also. Here. So pasuk we're going to see soon. But tumasay olav. The person is tamei, it says tamei, and then it says tamei. B'chiksiv ahu lacher zrika. So it says Rabbi Yochanan, you can't give him malchus. Why? Because that whole pasuk is talking about after the zrika. Okay, so before zrika you don't get malchus. Okay, so the question is on Rish Lakish. Why is Rish Lakish using our pasuk leisiga for other things? It says the Gemara imkein lemakra b'kodesh. We're learning from the extra word b'chol kodesh. Why does it say b'chol? Don't you just say b'kodesh? My b'chol kodesh shma min otarti. So you can learn two limudim from it. Gufa. Tamei sha'acha b'sar kodesh l'fnei zrika. We just learned that if he eats the meat before the zrika, he gets malchus according to Rish Lakish. Amar Bayo machloikes betumas haguf. Betumas basar de're'akol loika. So we're going to see there's two types of tumah that are possible. One is that he himself is tamei, and one is that the meat, the kachim, is tamei. Says Abaye that if the meat is tamei, everybody says you get malchus. And Rish Lakish is going to say that everybody says you don't get malchus. Domakra v'habasar. What does it mean v'habasar? So just show you over here. Here we go. Here's the pasuk. It says v'habasar, but you see what else it says there? It says v'habasar twice. So says the Gemara, since it says v'habasar twice, l'rabois eitzim u'levoina the labnei achilaninu. Trees are not edible. Wood is not edible. This is levoina, frankincense, not edible. So v'afilu hachi rabinu kra. Nevertheless, the Torah says you get malchus for it. So certainly, if somebody eats food before zrika, the Rav Amar machlokes the opposite. Machlokes betumas haguf, fine. We have a machlokes when a person himself is tamei. Betumas basar, but when the kachim themselves are tamei, divrei hakol ein eloike my taima, kiven de karina be betumasay olav v'nichrasa. Since the pasuk is talking about after zrika, so you can't say betumasay. Oh, kiven de karina be betumasay olav v'nichrasa. There's already zrika sadam. So also, when the meat is tamei, must be that it's after the zrika sadam. You see that even, we just said, we brought that even wood and levaina, meaning it's even before the zrika. If you take the wood, you take the levaina, you put it into kli shares, that's different. Why? There's nothing else going on with the levaina. You don't have zrikas hadam. You don't have anything else. So when you put the wood, the levina, into a kli, so then that's the matir, so to speak. That's the thing that ends the avoida. The snan, kol sheyesh lematirim, anything that has like blood that you have to throw into the mizbeach or a mur, whatever it is. Mishakarvu matirov. When you chayiv karas? When you do the final step. Kol she'ela matirim, but something like levina and wood, mishakadosh b'kli, putting in the kli, that's what is the matir, and that's what gives the einish. Itmar, hamala every behemoth tmei al gav mizbeach. It's mamish. Oh, parshas noyach. If you put non-kosher animals on the mizbeach. Shlagish amar loika, Rabbi Yochanan ein loika. Shlagish amar loika. Tahira in tmei eloi. So the reason Rish Lakish says that if you leave a non-kosher animal, you bring a non-kosher animal on the mizbeach, malchus. Why? Because I could be medayik it from the lab. Tahira in tmei eloi. The Torah says you should bring a kosher animal onto mizbeach, meaning that if it's not kosher, you're not allowed to. V'lav abba meklala say loikin olav. Since I can infer it from the positive is put a kosher animal on. You did the negative. That requires malchus, he says. Interesting. There's no such thing. You don't get malchus on something that you were medayik. If the Torah says don't do something, you get malchus. But because the Torah says you should do something, and you did maybe the opposite of it, you don't get malchus for that. But wait a minute, here we have famous psukim in the parasha of what we're allowed to eat, all the kosher animals. This is what you should eat. And not something that's an animal who's tamei. V'lav abba meklal asay. Over here we say mefurish that you get that a lav abba meklal asay. Oh, and over here, what's the point? There's a nice Rashi that we have to see here. Rashi says, how do I know to get a loisa? Why does the Torah, Rashi asks, why does the Torah say the isser of loisa chelu? Shouldn't you be medayik yourself? The Torah says you should eat kosher animals, so that means that if you don't eat a kosher animal, if you eat a non-kosher animal, you're even a lav. So why does the Torah have to say that you get a lav for doing it? You see that you're not medayik. The Torah is telling you not to be medayik such a thing. There's a continuation, Rashi says here. The Gemara is missing a few words. From the fact that the Torah says you should eat kosher, the Torah could have just stopped there. If it's not kosher, then you're over a lav. No, but the Torah continues and says, Loisei chelu, do not eat those. Oh, because you shouldn't be medayik for malchus. Everybody agrees you don't get malchus when you put a non-kosher animal on the mizbeach. Ki pligi b'chayo. Oh, if you put, let's say, a deer on the mizbeach. Voch yitmar. Rabbi Yochanan Amar over ba'asei. Rish Lakish Amar ein over b'v'loi klum. On this, Rabbi Yochanan says he's over in asei, and Rish Lakish says you don't get any avera. Rabbi Yochanan Amar over ba'asei behema in chayaloi. Rish Lakish Amar ein over olav b'loi klum ahu lemitzvah. The Torah says it's better to bring domesticated animals. Don't bring a deer. But if you brought one, you're not over on anything. It's a suggestion. It's better to bring a cow and a goat. It's a bigger mitzvah, maybe better. Matziv Rava. So Rava asks a question on Rish Lakish. You're allowed to bring a deer to the mizbeach. He says, "Question: Ilu nemar korban l'Hashem behema. Ha'isi omer chaya b'chlal behema." It says behema, so I would say, you know what? Venison is also part of behema. You guys know what venison is? Deer. Good. It also says here's the Mefurish pasuk. It says this is the animal behema you should eat, and it goes on to list shar, sek, savim, v'seizim, and then also it says ayol tzvi. Part of the list of the behema is a chaya. In other words, we could call even a chaya behema. It's not the end of the world. That's why the Torah adds bakar v'tzayin. No, you cannot bring a chaya. No. So if you pause over here, we have a problem with the Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish says he could bring a chaya onto the mizbeach. Heavy kosher. I think it's okay. You shouldn't, but if you do, it's kosher. He got him what he asked, but a little bit more too. He gave him also barley. He's not being chutzpahdik. He gave him a little bit more than he asked. Because that's okay. I think I said, I want you to bring these korbanos. Don't add. Do me a favor. These are the only ones. Cows, sheep. That's it. No deer. What is it similar? It's like a Rebbe that told his Talmud, Elochitim, he added that word, only wheat, nothing else. And he decided to do more, but he told him only this. Now that guy's chutzpahdik. When the Rebbe says only, so it's only, you stick to what he says. You don't try to be nice. Upasul. That's why it's pasul. When the Torah says only sheep and cows, goats, sheep, cows, bulls, that's it. Anything else is pasul. The Rish Lakish said they could bring a deer onto the mizbeach, so it's a kasha. So we had the Mishnah that these psulim that accepted the dam. People that are not kosher for the avoid in the Beis Hamikdash. We see this concept of shirayim already. We spoke about it a few times. What happens if somebody who's pasul receives the blood? Does the remaining blood in the animal, the shirayim, the leftover blood in the animal, does it become pasul automatically? Is there some sort of connection between the vessel that he's holding and he's pasul? And he made the blood maybe in the animal no good. So even though there's blood spritzing out of the animal's neck, and you could l'chayra go with another vessel and grab more blood and make the carbon kosher, but since he's pasul and he already received the blood, maybe he ruined all the blood, the leftover blood in the animal. No, it's only when a person has the thought of pigul or chutz l'makom. And the reason is, then he ruins something else. Then he can ruin the rest of the animal. Since it's a deraisa, midiraisa, you could have a thought and ruin other things. You're over. Rav Zvid Masni Hacha. Rav Zvid said the question was slightly different. Who, the counterpart of Rabbi Yochanan, but Rabbi Yochanan found him. He was a very powerful person physically. He was able to jump, and he was a great robber. And then he did tshuva, and he became Rish Lakish. So Rish Lakish is asking Rabbi Yochanan, Kais pasal maushi yasa shirayim. Let's say somebody, kain who's kosher, he took the vessel of blood, he took it outside of the Beis Hamikdash. What is that called? Taking something outside of the Beis Hamikdash? Yaitse. It makes it possible. Now, does that create, he's kosher, the guy himself is a kosher person. The question that we asked before is that the guy himself is not kosher. Let's say he's Yisrael, I don't know what. But here, it's a real kohen, he's kosher, but he did something that made the blood not kosher. Does that ruin all the leftover blood? Sometimes, let's say it takes a full minute for the blood to come out of the neck. So during that, he took the blood, he ran outside, and now, how did I bring it outside? Let me redo it. Could he chop another, more blood and redo the Kabbalah Sadab? Omerlei Pasul. I'm sorry. Omerlei Pasul Gufei Masvir Loch. First, you have to know what happens with the first question. If the guy himself was Pasul, what do you hold? If a guy receiving the blood is Pasul, and he creates a situation where all the blood in the animal is Pasul, So the same halacha would be in your case where a kosher kohen ran outside with the blood, everything in the neck of the animal now becomes possible. But if a non-kosher person, kohen, Yisrael, whatever he is, but he's not good for this avodah, doesn't ruin the blood in the animal, so kois puzzle nami master shiraim. So to your question that you asked me, if you ran outside with the blood, won't make it shiraim. Rav Yirmi and Rav Yirmi says the question was different. Abba asked Rav, kois maushi yasis chaveri dochi oy shiraim. Givaldic question. A kohen goes with two vessels and he receives blood in both vessels, and he takes the kois and he sprinkles it on the mizbeach. And now he looks down and he has another cup in his hand full of blood. What halacha does this blood have? Now, what do you do with the leftover blood in the original one? What do you do with that? Huh? And what do you do with it? Put it on the side of the mizbeach. That's what you do with the leftover. But what do you do with the kli that's in your left hand, in your whatever, your second kli? What do you do with that? Is that considered leftover and you pour it on the base of the mizbeach, or you should pour it into the drain? There was an amas hamayim. There was like some sort of river that it's not clear exactly what it was. Some river ran right through the Chazarah, because think about it, you needed a lot of water there to rinse out all the korbanos, to rinse out the floor of the, there's a lot of blood over there. How did they rinse it out? So they had a water source, came right through the Chazarah. So take it, pour it into that, and later on they would sell it to the farmers, whatever. It says, is it pushed off, and therefore throw it into the drain, into the sewer system, or you pour it onto the mizbeach itself? We have a little bit of a contradiction. It says you should pour blood. Then it says all of the blood. So which one is it? Is it the blood or is it all the blood? Let's say the kohen received the blood in 4 different vessels, and he used all 4 because the chatas, he's supposed to put it on all 4 corners. All 4 cups, they're all considered what? Leftover. And what do you do with the leftover? Onto the base of the mizbeach. I would think that the same thing applies if you took one of the 4 cups, and that's what you used it for. You cool them. Maybe the other 3 should also pour onto the base. No, not kol damai as damai. Hakeitzad. Who nishbali behein nishbachim la'ama. From these 2 psukim, you see that whatever vessel that you use, then you have left over, that goes onto the mizbeach itself. But if you never even used it, it was just in your hand, what do you do with it? La'ama, you pour it into the drainage system. You received the blood in 4 cups, and you used only 1 out of the 4 cups for your zrika. How do you know? He argues and he says all 4 cups go onto the base. So in our case, the Gemara's question: what if you received 2 cups of blood? The answer is simple. According to Rabbi Lazar, it would go on the base. But according to Chachamim, it goes into the sewer. What do you do with the puzzle that seems not all the blood, just called dama? The leftover blood that's in the animal's neck. Oh, let's just look at this real quickly. Simple sugya. This is the 3 cases that we had in the Mishnah. They're all basically the same, very similar, and that's exactly what the Gemara is bothered by. Why do we need 3 cases? If somebody was kosher, received the blood, perfect. Then he gave it over to his friend. You Yisrael, you don't deserve to hold it. You can't hold it. So what do? You return it to the original kohen. Let's say he received it with his right hand, and then he put it in his left hand. What do? You put it right back in the right hand. I took it and I received it in a golden kli from the Beis Hamikdash, and I put it into my plastic thing out of my bathroom. What do? You pour it right back into the golden. You're good. Why do you need 3 cases? Aren't they all the same? Says the Gemara. We got to rush a little bit because these guys are coming in. They're waiting outside, actually. There's a lot of Israelis. So we have to hurry up. I don't know if we're going to do all of it, but we'll do as much as we can in the next 2 minutes. I think that the first one is talking about a Tameh guy. The Chazil Avodas Tzibur. We know that somebody who's Tameh, we had a whole sugi about it, that Tuma Hutra B'Tzibur. That even a Tameh Kayan could perform the Avodah in certain circumstances. However, our small loy, but the left hand is never available to perform the Avodah. V'yashmin is small, this is like Sheiril B'Yom Kippur. Oh, but there is a little bit of a caveat, I don't know if that's the right word here, but on Yom Kippur, when the Kohen is holding, the Kohen Gadol is holding the Ketores and the coals, so he holds the coals in his right hand and the Ketores in his left. So he does use the left hand. But you never use your negovas or plastic thing from the bathroom. You could make it kaddish, maybe so we're not talking about a plastic thing, something else. You could possibly make it kaddish if you want to. That's why simple tzrichusa of all three cases. As the Gemara when you give the blood to a non-kosher kohen, non-kosher human being, and he gives it back to you, for that moment that he was holding it, it got pushed off. He can't do it at that moment. He can't perform the avodah. Why is that not considered pushed off? I mean, it should be pushed off forever. Because it goes according to Chonan HaMitzri, the less the Chuyin he holds, there is no such thing as pushing off forever. It's not. Chonan HaMitzri Omer, Afilu Dam Bakois, maybe Chaverim Zavig Loi. So there's a case of Yom Kippur, you bring the two goats, and one of them you throw off a cliff, and the other one you shecht. Now what happens if one dies before you're able to perform the avodas and everything? So you have to restart the whole thing. There's a machlokes, and Chonan HaMitzri says, I argue, you don't have to restart the whole thing, bring two new goats and redo it, just bring another one. Because the one that's alive is not pushed off. He doesn't hold of being pushed off. Anything that's in your ability to change. So, let's say it's in your left hand, you put it in your left hand, it's not dachay now. You're right, you can't do the avodah when it's in your left hand, but you could just go like this, put it right back. Oh. So anything that's in your ability to change is not considered dachay. Or Reb Shaya. Man shamas le the islay the chuyin Rabbi Yehuda. Who holds this concept of pushing things off? It's Rabbi Yehuda. It's not. If the blood was spilled, then the one that's about to be thrown off the cliff, he must die without being thrown off the cliff. But if the one that's about to be thrown off the cliff dies before he was thrown off, there's nothing you can do. And we see that anything that's in his hands is not considered pushed off. This is a beautiful thing. We're going to see, Yoshi did a great picture. It's not in today's daf, it's tomorrow's. That on Erev Pesach, there's so many korbanos, millions of korbanos, so they would put a plug in the Beis HaMikdash, and the blood would just fill up to the point where it got to people's knees. That's mine? Oh, okay, fine.
The Israelis.
I don't know why he's videoing me, but okay, maybe he's outside. So, and says Rabbi Yehuda, you take 1 cupful and you do a zrika. Why? Because perhaps one of the korbanos they messed up and they didn't do a zrika for it. You put it on the base of it's spilled on the floor. You see from there, and tomorrow we're going to discuss this at length. You see that anything that you're able to do right now is not considered pushed off. Rabbi said with the Voch, only one. Shai is only one time in the entire Shas. Shkoyach, have a wonderful week.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.